Now settle in, my dear one, and let your thoughts drift gently with my words. Let the world outside fade, and allow yourself to be carried away to a time long ago, in a land far, far away. We will journey together through the quiet unfolding of a very special tale, one of courage and hope, and the eventual arrival of a deep and lasting peace. Our story continues with the brave little hobbit, Frodo, and his steadfast companion, Sam. They were deep within the shadowy lands of Mordor, drawn ever closer to the very heart of the darkness, Mount Doom. With them was Gollum, a creature sadly twisted by the very thing Frodo carried, the One Ring. His heart was a troubled place, torn between his old self and the ring's insistent whispers. Meanwhile, their friends were also journeying towards their own destinies. Young Pippin, after a moment of curiosity with a mysterious seeing stone, found himself in the company of the wise wizard, Gandalf. Together, they rode swiftly towards the great city of Minas Tirith, a shining jewel of stone, the last bastion of hope in the land of men. There, Pippin became a guard, serving the steward, Denethor, a man burdened deeply by his fears and his own sorrows. Denethor's son, Faramir, a noble and good-hearted man, bravely led the defense of the city's outer lands, facing great challenges with quiet strength. As the darkness gathered, Frodo and Sam continued their weary climb. Gollum, sadly, succumbed to the darker impulses of his nature. He led them along a treacherous path, up to a high, dark pass called Cirith Ungol. There, in the ancient, winding tunnels, lived a great, slumbering creature of shadow and old malice. Gollum's intention was to offer Frodo to this creature, hoping to claim the ring for himself in the confusion. And so it happened. The ancient creature, roused from its sleep, ensnared Frodo. But brave Samwise, with a heart full of love and loyalty, fought with all his might. He managed to drive the creature away, believing Frodo to be gravely hurt, perhaps even beyond recovery. In a moment of deep sorrow, Sam took the ring, intending to continue the quest himself. Yet Frodo was not lost. Orcs, the shadowy servants of the Dark Lord, found Frodo and carried him away to their high tower, a place of stone and despair. Sam, discovering this, bravely rescued Frodo, sneaking into the tower and leading his friend to freedom once more. Their journey, though arduous, would continue. Back in Minas Tirith, the siege began. A vast, shadowy army, countless in number, surrounded the White City. The air grew heavy with a sense of impending doom. The great beacons of warning, which stretched across the lands, were lit by Bolv riders. Their flames danced against the darkening sky, a silent plea for help reaching the distant kingdom of Rohan, where King Theoden and his people prepared for war. Among them was Aragorn, a man of noble lineage, destined for greatness. He knew that the forces of men alone might not be enough. Guided by the wise elf lord Elrond, who brought him the reforged sword of his ancestors, Andúril, Aragorn made a difficult decision. With Legolas and Gimli by his side, he ventured into a forgotten, haunted path beneath the mountains, the paths of the dead. There he called upon an ancient army of oath-breakers, spirits bound by a forgotten pledge, to rise and fulfill their long-awaited duty. With a solemn promise, Aragorn convinced them to join the battle, and together they made their way towards the sea, where they gathered a fleet of ships. The battle for Minas Tirith raged fiercely. The great gates were breached, and despair began to settle upon the hearts of the defenders. But then, as dawn broke, a sound of horns and hooves heralded the arrival of the Rohirrim. King Theoden led his people in a magnificent charge, bringing a wave of hope. Yet the evil Witch King of Angmar, a truly fearsome figure, attacked the king, bringing him down. In that moment of profound sorrow, Éowyn, Theoden's niece, disguised as a man, stood firm. With the help of young Merry, who had joined the riders of Rohan, she bravely faced the Witch King, and with a powerful act of courage, brought an end to his shadowy presence. Just as the tide of battle seemed uncertain, Aragorn arrived from the south with his ghostly army, followed by the ships they had taken from the corsairs. The spectral warriors swept through the enemy lines, clearing the way, and soon the darkness began to recede. The siege was lifted, and Minas Tirith was saved, though the cost had been great. Many brave souls had fallen, and the city bore the scars of battle. In the quiet aftermath, Pippin helped to save Faramir from his father's tragic despair, and Merry and Éowyn were tended to, recovering from their wounds. Though a great victory had been won, Gandalf knew that the war was not yet over. As long as the ring existed, Sauron's power would remain. So Aragorn, with Gandalf and the remaining captains of men, made a bold and selfless plan. They would march to the Black Gate, the very entrance to Mordor, and draw Sauron's eye away, creating a final, desperate chance for Frodo. And so the remaining brave souls marched, a small company against a vast darkness, to the Black Gate. They faced the full might of Sauron's armies, ready to fight to the last, all to buy Frodo precious moments. Meanwhile, deep within Mordor, Frodo and Sam continued their agonizing ascent up the slopes of Mount Doom. Their strength was failing, their bodies weary beyond measure. But their spirits, though tested, were not broken. They pushed on, one step at a time, towards the fiery chasm where the ring could finally be unmade. As they reached the very edge, Gollum reappeared. The ring had called to him, and in his desperation, he attacked Frodo. They struggled, high above the fiery depths. In a final, desperate act, Frodo, momentarily claiming the ring for himself, seemed lost to its power. But Gollum, in his frantic attempt to take it, stumbled, and with a cry he fell into the flames, and the ring, the source of so much sorrow and conflict, was destroyed forever. A great tremor shook the land. Sauron's power, bound to the ring, vanished like smoke. His dark tower crumbled, his armies dissolved into dust, and the shadows that had covered the land for so long lifted, revealing a clear, hopeful sky. Frodo and Sam lay exhausted on the mountain, their quest complete. But they were not alone for long. The great eagles, ancient friends of Gandalf, swept down from the heavens and gently carried the two hobbits away from the desolate land. In time, after much rest and healing, our heroes were reunited. The Fellowship, whole once more, stood together under the sun. Aragorn, the true king, was crowned in Minas Tirith, bringing a new era of peace and prosperity to the lands of men. It was a time of joy and celebration, where the brave deeds of all, great and small, were remembered. Finally, the little hobbits, Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin, returned to their beloved Shire. Though they carried memories of their great adventure, they also brought back a quiet strength and wisdom. The world had been saved, and a gentle peace settled upon the land. Yet for Frodo, the burdens he carried were deep. He had fulfilled his great task, but the wounds of his journey would never fully heal. And so one day, he made a quiet choice. With Gandalf and elves like Elrond and Galadriel, he journeyed to the Grey Havens, a beautiful, tranquil place by the sea. There, he boarded a white ship, sailing away to lands beyond the western seas, where he hoped to find a final, deep peace. Samwise, with his heart full of love and memory, watched him go, knowing that his friend had found his ultimate rest. And so the story closes with the world restored to balance, and a deep, soft quiet settling over all the lands. The long night had passed, and a gentle, peaceful dawn had finally arrived. Now, rest well, dear one. May your own dreams be filled with peace and the quiet joy of a story well told, ending in calm and sweet repose.